Welcome to Flip Jack Gaming. And today we're going to open up 3 packs of boop, 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 flip you over Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We're going to open up 3 packs, see what we get. These are a set booster, so that means that it's going to have 3 less cards. We're going to have an art card, a foil, and a chance to get anything that's from Commander or one of those little list cards. There could be some spice that's in these guys. So, if you're liking the stuff that we're putting out, hit that bell to be notified whenever we put out more content. We're covering, obviously, Magic, deck text, pack openings, and anything in between. And then we're also covering comic books as well. Covering up Amis, going into it, having a weekly poll, be able to dive in with that. With that said, let's dive in and see which pack is the best pack. Well, in my opinion, that's the best pack. If you think differently, put it down in the comments down below, and I'm always open to see what you end up having to say. That said, let's dive in. All right, starting off the bat with the art card. Ooh, like a little canoe with the little. It's an interesting little art. Discover the Impossible by Ryan Pancoast, number 43 out of 81. We have a forest, a full art forest, which I love the art that's on this. It's pretty spot on, especially for being at the set of Kamigawa. Got a special art, or not special art, but special frame. And I think it's also a featured different art of it. For Akin Ronan, it costs us 1 and a red for a Goblin Samurai. Samurais are going to be quite common that's on this plane. Also legendaries as well. But it's a 1/3 body. And whenever a samurai or a warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Looting for that goodness. And then we have Kami's Flare. Costs 1 and a red for an instant. It does, or Kami's Flare does 3 damage to a target creature or 3 damage to a target creature or planeswalker. It also deals 2 damage if that permanent controller has a modified creature. So, to be a modified creature, it can either have an equipment, an aura, or counters that's on it. And that's what counts as a modified creature. It's something you're going to be able to see throughout this set. And then we have Kami of the Industry. It costs us 4 and a red. So Spirit is a 3/6 body. When it enters the battlefield, return a target artifact card with a converted mana cost of, or not converted mana cost, I gotta remember, with a mana value of 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. And then we got a Lucky Offering. Costs us 1 white for a sorcery. Destroy a target artifact with a converted mana cost of 3 or less. You gain 3 life. Our first uncommon is Converted Technician. Costs us 2 and a blue for Human Ninja. Yes, this set also has Ninja Samurais. It has the crazy mix that we all end up liking. It has a 2/4 body. And most of the ninjas you're going to see is going to have this thing called ninjutsu. That means an unblocked creature that you control, you could pay the ninjutsu cost, and instead of that creature that came unblocked, you could end up swapping it for this creature instead. That still gets through, still ends up doing its damage. Or, like most of them, they have a special ability with it. This one has, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may put an artifact card with a mana value less than or equal to the damage from your hand onto the battlefield. So like if we have it just being born with stock, anything that costs 2 or less artifacts, we could put that in the battlefield. Oh man, this pack has a whole bunch of goodness that comes out of it. Crucial of the Borderless Vigor. Costs 1 and a green for a legendary enchantment creature shrine. So that means it could end up being your commander. You're going to be hearing that a lot because that could end up being a commander's of any kind of legendary creatures. As a 1/1 body, trample, at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, you get a +1/+1 counter on a target shrine for each shrine you control. So this wants buddies that got out there. I'm not going to say it's going to be a good commander for it, but if you need a color fixing and everything, it'll be nice to be able to have. It does have one of the really good shrine commanders that's in this set. Let's see if we end up opening them. Generous Visitor costs 1 green for a spirit that's a 1/1. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. Neat. Here we go. We have some Saga action. So Saga is something that's unique that when it plays, we end up going through the different areas that it'll be able to add lore-wise. So like when it first comes into play, we'll be at stage 1, which with this one, the Azusa of Many Journeys, or Azusa's Many Journeys, costs 1 and a green, and it lets us end up playing an additional land this turn. That's at the first stage. And then at the next stage, it will end up going over, which is this next turn of yours. You gain 3 life. And then at the third and final stage, we exile it. And it flips into the Likeness of the Seeker. It becomes a human monk. It's a 3/3. And whenever Likeness of the Seeker becomes blocked, untap up to 3 lands you control. Lands. So it's not basic lands or anything. It's lands total. Could be a double-edged sword that comes out of that. And then we have an Ogre Head Helm. Costs 1 and a red for an Equipped Ogre. It's an artifact creature. It's a 2/2. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. And then whenever Ogre Helm or Head Helm or Equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. It has a reconfigure for 3. So reconfigure is something that's similar to Equip. So you end up putting it onto something for a mana cost of 3. That's a rare. And here's another rare. March of the Wrench Sorrow. Costs X and a black for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of black cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. March of the Wrench Sorrow deals X amount of damage to a target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X amount of life. And then the foil is Upriser Renegade. Costs 1 and a red. Has a little fancy art and the fancy little border that comes with it. It's a 1/3 body. Upriser Renegade gets +2/+0 for each other modified creature you control. And then the final card is a mini magic game. Cyber Simulacrum, it's called. The objective is sometimes technology is useful and sometimes it's downright confusing. Deduce and identify cards using only images from the internet. So it could be some pack shenanigans. I should be saving a whole bunch of these to be able to try sometime at the table. But that was pack 1. What did you think of it? I think it's a nice little standby to be able to open up. I mean, obviously, right now it's the best pack because it's the only pack. But we have 2 other packs to see what ends up happening. With that said, let's see what the second pack brings us. All right. Art card. Whoa. I wasn't expecting to go in that way. That's the Wandering Emperor. by Hassan Momos. Sorry if I end up butchering your name. I'm not meaning to. Just learning and getting a little bit better. It's number 50 out of 81. It's a little interesting. I haven't seen that before. It's a foil full, or not full art, but a regular land for it. It's a beautiful art. And then we have a Peerless Samurai. Costs 2 and a red for a human samurai. It's a 2/3 body. Menace or Menace. That means it can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. And whenever a samurai or a warrior you control attacks alone, the next spell that you cast costs 1 colorless less. Nice. We like a little bit less costing. Alonzo Emplar costs 1 and a white. It's a 2/1. It's an enchantment creature, human samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So we have to say, whenever they attack alone, this is kind of like Exalted, where it'll end up having all these other abilities, but it ends up triggering by itself. Kind of a little nice little thing that comes along with it. Automated Artificer costs 2 for an Artificer that's a 1/3 body. Tap, add a colorless. Spin this only to activate abilities or cast artifact spells. Interesting. That allows us to be able to cast Network Terminal. Costs 3 for an artifact. Tap it, add 1 mana of any color. Or we could pay 1, tap it, tap another untapped artifact that you control, draw a card, and then discard a card. The good old looting. When we went to the pre-release last week, we ended up being able to do this, and it was kind of helping out rummaging through the deck. Then we have the Moonstar Prototype. Costs 1 blue for an artifact. Tap an untapped artifact you control, add 1 colorless. And it has Channel. So this is something unique. With Channel, we can end up paying the cost and discarding it and be able to have that effect. So for a cost of 4 and a blue, we get to discard this, and then the owner of a target non-land permanent puts it at the top or the bottom of their library. So we choose a permanent, it goes either at top or the bottom, but it still gets out of our way. Oh, and then we had the sad, unfortunate event of Tamiyo's Completion. Costs 3 and a blue for an enchantment that has flash. Enchant artifact, creature, or planeswalker. When it enters the battlefield, tap an enchanted permanent. If it's an equipment, unattach it. Equipped permanent loses all abilities and doesn't untap during the controller's untap step. That's super sad, though, what ended up happening with this story. And then we have a Prodigy Prototype. Costs 1, a white, and a blue. It's a vehicle that's a 3/4. Whenever 1 or more vehicles you control attack, create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature cruise vehicles as though it has a power of 2 or greater, and a crew cost of 2 to be able to do it. So that means we have to have enough power or toughness of 2. So this has to be out for a little bit. This has to wait for 1 turn before this can attack. But if we play a creature, and this has already been out there, that has 2 power, we can instantly use it to crew this and be able to use that. But it has to be out for at least 1 turn before we can end up being able to do a shenanigans with it. It's also our first uncommon. And then we have the Mobilized Mech. Costs 1 and a blue. It's a vehicle that's a 3/4. Has flying. And whenever it becomes crew, up to 1 target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Has a crew cost of 3. So you have to have 3 power to be able to crew that guy. And then we have a Rechner Raid. Costs 1 black. It's a saga. So at the first and the second parts of it, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Life total is a resource, so why not add to it and use it? And then we get to exile at the end of the turn of the third one, and it becomes Nasusumi Road Captain. It's an enchantment creature. It's a rat rogue. It's a 2/2. Has menace. That means it has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Vehicles you control have menace. So that means that all of the other vehicles that we control have menace, so they have to be blocked by 2 or more creatures to be able to be blocked. Very nice. And then the rare is the Shagaiki Guku Visionary. Costs us 1 and a green for a 1/3 body legendary enchantment creature snake druid. So that means this could be a commander. Awesome. More commanders, the better. Pay 1 green and 1. Tap it. Return it to its owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and put the rest into your graveyard. And then it has channel. It has XX green green. Then we discard it. Return it X. Target non-legendary card from your graveyard to your hand. If we end up milling the part that we ended up wanting, we can end up discarding this to dig it back out. Very nice. The foil is Spinning Wheel Kick. Costs us XX and 2 green for a sorcery. Target creature you control or target creature deals combat damage equal to its power to each of X amount of creatures or planeswalkers. So it ends up deciding how much damage it ends up doing and the power of our creatures. Kind of a little confusing. Woo! And then the final is a shrine. It's a 1/1 shrine. Needed to make for that legendary shrine that's out there. What did you think of it? You still think Pack 1's winning? Or do you think Pack 2 is winning? I personally think I would say Pack 2 I'll be saying that's winning if I had to choose. Yeah, I'll go with that. But that's up until Pack 3 comes around. Let's see if this is better. Oh, with some art. Oh ho! Some very colorful art. Tasari Toad Rider by Rinko. I'm sorry, but I don't know what that says. If you do, let us know down in the comments below. It's number 60 out of 81. And then we have the full art planes. Love that art. If we end up making a commander deck with this, it's going to have that art. Peerless Samurai, which we already covered this guy. Chainfail Centipede costs us 2 and a black. It's an artifact creature. It's an equipped insect. It's a 2/2 body. And then whenever it or an equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And it has a reconfigure cost of 2. Tasari Strong Shaper costs us 1 and a red. For an artifact creature that's a human artificer, it's a 2/2 body. And then whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets a +1/+0 until end of turn. Interesting. Papercraft Decoy costs us 2 for a frog that's a 2/1, and when it leaves the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. I don't know why, but I love the looks of that little guy. And then we have a necessary Blade Master. And then we have Nizumi Blade Blesser, costs us 2 and a black for a Rat Samurai. It has a 3/2 body. And then it has Death Touch as long as you control an artifact. And then it also has Menace as long as you control an enchantment. Very nice. Uh-oh, we have a Ninja Turtle in the house. Hi, Leo. Cap Attack Wrecker. Costs us 1 and green, and it's a 1/3 body. for a ninja or a turtle ninja. That's right, TMNT. Hopefully you're a big TMT fan like I am. I'm gonna end up having to make that deck at some point. Ninjutsu of a 1 and a green. And then when it enters the battlefield with it enters the battlefield with a Death Touch counter, so it's instantly modified. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may remove the Death Touch counter from it. When you do, exile a target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Some shenanigans. I'm liking it. And then we have a Nessun Prowler. Costs us 1 out of black for an artifact rat ninja. It's a 3/1, has ninjutsu, and it costs us 1 and a black for it. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. Some shenanigans. Josh's Silencer costs us 1 and a black for a human ninja. It's a 2/1 body. Has ninjutsu for 1 and a black. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy a target creature or planeswalker that person controls. Interesting. And then Kamigawa Faces of the Kazan costs us 1 red. At the first one, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker that they control. At the second one, whenever you cast your next creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. And then at the last one, it flips over into the Etching of Chroma Rural. It's a human shaman that's a 2/2. It has haste, so that means it can attack or end up being used on the turn that it flips. If a creature is dealt combat damage this turn by a source you control would die, exile it instead. Alright. It looks like the rares are, or the rare is Light Paws, Emperor's Voice, costs us 1 and a white for a legendary creature, a Fox Advisor. So that means it can be your commander. Woohoo! Has a 2/2 body, and whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with a mana value less than or equal to the aura from which of a different name than each other aura that you have control. Put that card onto the battlefield attached to Light Paws, Emperor Voice, and then shuffle. And then the foil is Heir of the Ancient Fang. It costs us 2 and a green. For a 2/3 body, that's a Snake Samurai. It enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter if you control a modified creature. And then we have a card that's from the list. Light of Day. Costs us 3 and a white for an enchantment. Black creatures cannot attack or block. Talk about hosing out black. Oh man, if I make an enchantment deck, I'm going to have to toss that in there, because limiting the creatures, that's kind of nice. Alright, so that's all 3 packs. I personally would say the 3rd pack is the winner. What did you think? I'll be a little bit suspect, but I love it because as a Ninja Turtle, I still can't get over that. And there's also a Master Splinter. But which one's Master Splinter? You got to stay tuned or look at the spoilers to be able to find out. So I would say the 3rd pack ends up winning it. And if you're liking the content that we're putting out, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to be notified about any of our future content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.